Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and please check out my channel for other updates. So the last update about Taste of Fate was a special episode of Oli, and Prachi is not happy with Rambo, remembering his intimacy with Rhea, and Rhea is also angry, seeing Rambo playing Oli with Prachi instead of playing Oli with her. Let's continue. Rishi asks Malishka what happened. Malishka asks, why did we come here? Rishi says we came for Oli party and we have colors on our body. Malishka asks, when did you apply color to me? Rishi asks, have I not applied color to you when everyone were running and I was holding Pictionary? Malishka says you didn't apply color on me and says that they are getting married. She says what to do so that I feel that you are mine, so that Lashmi feels that you are mine. He asks her not to bring Lashmi between them and asks her to tell him directly and vent out anger on him. He says we have hurt her so much already and asks how much are we going to hurt her more? It is enough. Malishka says what to say now. Rhea comes to Prachi's room and says, I wish I was my dad's only daughter and you were never born. Prachi says if everyone's wishes comes true, then there will be no sadness in the world. She says even God knows that whoever has so much poison in their mind, their wishes cannot come true. Rhea shouted at Prachi. Prachi says she has headache hearing her. Rhea says my heart wrenches in pain. You know well how much I love you. And then also you hurt your sister. Prachi asks her to decide if she is her sister or her second wife. She says second wife doesn't get anyone's love and says you are my illegal second wife. Rhea asks Prachi, what do you think? That I feel love for you when I call you as my sister. Prachi says if your blood boils seeing me, then how will you woo your husband? Rhea says I know how to woo my husband and asks Prachi to stay away from Rambo. Prachi says I haven't tied Rambo to my hair or my palu. She says I am not behind him. I know you so well, in and out. I know your hidden agenda and I know your planning and plotting. She asks Rhea, how dare you to tell me in the anniversary party that I am pregnant and asks what was the need to do the drama. She says how can you make fun of someone's pregnancy? Prachi says to Rhea that you have presented it as a curse and you will never be forgiven for this. Rhea asks her to stay away from Rambo. She says you know well that we are on the bed and we have moved on in our relationship. Prachi asks then why do you look back and says I have no interest in your husband and says he only comes to me. I don't want to talk to him or see him. Prachi asks Rhea to close the door while going. Rhea goes. Prachi cries. She says Rhea have hurt my heart so much that everything is just a betrayal. A song plays in the background. She says I will not cry and I will not cry for Rambo. She says you gave my right to Rhea and she is asking me to stay away from you. But there was once we were so closer. She says you did not trust me or fulfill your promise made to me. All your promises are fake. Rhea comes to the room and gets angry thinking about Prachi's words. She cries. Aliyah comes there and asks, what are you doing? She says you had gone to make Prachi cry and asks why she herself is crying. Rhea asks herself if I am a child that I started crying if I don't get Pictionary. Aliyah asks Rhea to get up and says today is Oli. Rhea says Rambo played Oli with Prachi. She asks her not to lecture her. She says let me go. Aliyah closes the door and asks Rhea to stop crying and stop being pathetic and stop annoying her. Rhea says yes, I am pathetic and annoying you. Aliyah asks Rhea to take the knife and stab Prachi. She asks her to take control on her life and hurt the one who hurt her. She says if something is going wrong, then make it better. She says I am your aunt and I care for you and I support you. She asks Rhea to control her life. Rhea says she can undo Prachi, but not Rambo. She says she wanted Rambo to apply color to her, but Rambo made her feel bad and apply color to Prachi. She says Prachi made fun of me. I will snatch her happiness and I will ruin her. I will wipe her name from the world. Aliyah asks what is in Prachi that Rambo likes her so much. Rambo says maybe he likes Prachi's beauty. Rhea says Prachi is not beautiful. Aliyah says we may not like Prachi, but Rambo likes her beauty. Aliyah says we should take a step, and once we take this step, then you cannot rectify it. Rhea says I want to destroy Prachi's life. Aliyah says I will return in 15 minutes and asks Rhea to keep her phone on. Grandma coughs. Lashmi comes to her. Grandma says she is getting cough since few days. Lashmi asks if she is taking medicines. Grandma says yes. Lashmi asks where is your kitchen and says that she will make kada for her. Barvinda and his friend keeps an eye on Lakshmi. Grandma shows the way to the kitchen and asks Lashmi to bring the kada to her room. Lashmi goes to the kitchen. Barvinda thinks that he got a chance. He goes behind Lakshmi and eyes. Lakshmi started making the kada. Balvinda comes behind Lakshmi and is about to apply color to her, but Lakshmi moves away from there to get something. Balvinda sees Rishi coming and hides. Rishi asks Lakshmi what is she doing here alone. Lakshmi says Grandma was coughing, so I was making kada for her. Rishi smiles. Lakshmi asks if Balvinda wants something. Balvinda thinks that Lakshmi is mine and you have snatched her from me. Rishi says you make everyone yours and asks how do you do it. Lakshmi touches a hot utensil and feels pain. Rishi gets concerned and put her hand in the water jug. He blows on her finger. A song plays in the background. Rhea comes there and looks at Lakshmi and Rishi. She goes away from there talking on her phone. Rambro and Prachi collide with each other. Rambro asks, why are you behaving strangely suddenly? Prachi says you are not innocent. Rambro asks what happened. Prachi asks him to move away. Rambro says you played only with me outside. Prachi says what to do outside. She says whenever I think that you are a good person, then you prove me wrong. She says you told me that I am your wife and you stood by me. She says that night you were holding my hand and the next morning you were already sleeping with someone else. She says our love was over. Rambro says don't say this. Prachi says to Rambro that you don't love me. Rambro says I love you even today. Prachi says then you wouldn't have been with Rhea in her bedroom. It is over. Rambro and Prachi get emotional. Rambro asks, did Rhea tell you something? Prachi asks him to go and asks him to just leave her alone. She says you told me once that you are a one-woman man, but you had lied. She goes from there. Rambro feels bad. Rhea comes to the room. Aliyah asks her to close the door. Rhea says there's nobody here. Aliyah says we should not trust even our reflection. Rhea asks, what did you say? That once we start, we cannot back off. And what is it that I cannot change in the future if I want to? Aliyah asks Rhea to wear the gloves and says you need it so that nobody can catch you. She asks her to wear the gloves and apply this color to Prachi's face. Rhea says you want me to play Oli with Prachi. Aliyah says this is not an ordinary color. It is chemical mist color. Just as you apply the color to Prachi, Prachi's face will be burnt forever. Aliyah says we don't like Prachi, but Rambro likes her. And if you don't want Rambro to like her, then apply the color to her face. Her face will be burnt. And no plastic surgeon of the world can make her face like before. Aliyah says after this color is applied to Prachi's face, Rambro will run away from Prachi. Aliyah asks Rhea to go and take the revenge. Rhea looks on. Rishi apologized to Lakshmi. Balvinda says you cannot get Lakshmi as I have returned, and I will go to any extent to get her. A song plays in the background. Rishi admires Lakshmi as she makes kada. Lakshmi turns holding the glass. Rishi tells her that the color went into his eyes. Ayush looks at them. Lakshmi blows into Rishi's eyes and cleans the color from his eyes. She asks if it is fine. Rishi nods yes. She asks him to close his eyes and makes the color force down from his hair. He opens his eyes and asks her to set his hair. She sets his ears. Rishi says you are very good. Lakshmi says I am not habitual to hear this. Rishi says this is my fault. I should have praised you. He says I have stopped praising you. I will again make you get habitual to hearing the praising so that you don't feel strange. Lakshmi says she will give the kada. Rishi asks Ayush what is he doing. Ayush makes an excuse and says that he is not like Rishi uncle. Lakshmi goes. Ayush teases Rishi and asks him to praise him also. Rishi asks him to do some work today. Ayush is about to touch his hair. Rishi stops him and pushes him. Ayush falls down. Balvinda is hiding. Rishi helps Ayush get up and go behind him. Aliyah asks Rhea what is she thinking. Rhea asks if Prachi's face will get damaged permanently. Aliyah asks Rhea that do you want Rambro to go back to Prachi? She asks do you have sympathy for your sister? Rhea says what can I do? Aliyah provokes Rhea against Prachi and reminds her that Prachi has snatched Rambro from her and her father. She says Prachi has ruined your married life and you want to play sister with her? Rhea recalls Rambro's words that Prachi is her real sister. The flashback ends. Rhea tells Aliyah that Prachi is not my sister and I have no sympathy for her. She says I will make Prachi suffer and she will not see her own face. Rambro would hate her and he would turn his face away from her. She says it will be my revenge. Aliyah asks Rhea to wear the gloves and apply the color on Prachi's face. She says this only, Prachi's life will become colorless. Rhea wears the glove and put her hand in the packet. She shouted and says that it is paining badly. She says maybe there is a hole in the gloves. Aliyah asks her to think how much it will hurt Prachi. She says she will bring another glove for her. Balvinder's friend asks him when he will become hero. Balvinder says if I had hero's face, then I would have wooed her long back. He says I am thinking to apply color to her silently and says that Rishi is after Lakshmi. He says I will act to apologize to her. Lakshmi will forgive me and hug me. He says then you both have to organize the wedding. His friend says you are planning wedding and you have not even celebrated Holi yet. Balvinder plans to kidnap Lakshmi and celebrate Holi with her. They see Rhea hearing them. Rambu comes to his room and recalls Prachi confronting him and telling him that their love is over. He is about to drink wine, but Rishi comes there and stops him. He says it is not allowed on Holi day. Rambu says I am stuck in this situation due to bank effect. Rishi asks what is the story. Rambu says it is a long story. Rishi insisted to hear. Rambu tells him that he had drank bank and Prachi got upset with him. Rishi says everyone knows about Rhea and you and says you are a big person and big news gets published about you. Rishi says to Rambu that you are married to Rhea but you are eyeing Prachi. Rambu says Prachi is in my heart. He says I slept with Rhea because of bank effect. When I woke up, Rhea was beside me on the bed and Prachi was standing there. He says since then, Prachi is upset and she is not talking to me and says I don't know what to do. Ayu says you both have a sad love story and says if anyone hears, then they will lose trust on love. He says Rambu said that you still love Prachi even after your marriage with Rhea. He says but Rishi loves Lakshmi and he wants to marry Maliksha. Rishi says I love Maliksha. Ayu says Rambu has caught you and asks him, do you think that Rishi loves Maliksha? Rishi asks him to be quiet. Rambu says we don't want to understand when someone makes us understand. He says that he was jobless for 2 years and once his neighbor told him that he is useless. Rambu says those 2 years of my life were wonderful years of the house and then our relationship stumbled. He says now I am very rich but poor at heart. He says he is missing Prachi's smile and says now Prachi doesn't smile due to me. Rambu asks Rishi not to marry Maliksha and says if you marry her, then you will go mad. Rambu says it is a bad feeling that you love someone and you marry someone else. Rambu says to Rishi that don't do the same mistake which I did. Ayu says there's happiness and pain too in love. Rambu says love is strange and says you love Lakshmi and you will feel the best with her, which I cannot explain to you. Malisha comes there and asks Rishi to come. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, share it, and please subscribe to this channel for more updates. Thank you.